Good evening, everyone! A brief look at today's game's Shrine's legacy might fill you with either nostalgia or dread, depending on your personal genre preferences. It certainly looks like yet another Zelda-like in an era where we've got plenty of those already. But what if I told you it also took inspiration from Soul Blazer? Well, okay, for some that probably still won't move the needle much, but it does for me. I played Soul Blazer last year, and it was a fantastic action RPG for the Super Nintendo, a member of the Quintet trilogy and my personal favorite of the three, where you rebuild towns by saving people held captive by enemy troops. Now, that specific part is not fully carried over here, otherwise this would be less an inspiration and more a knockoff, but it's one of a couple of wrinkles that help set this one apart from the others. As the story goes, Ryo is a member of the Shrine family, whose ancestors have protected a sacred sword since the day it was used to defeat the evil Lord Acklor. Well, cue the Fortnite crossover event because suddenly Lord Acklor has returned, and Ryo is forced to go on the run to protect his village and loved ones while he searches for the 8 scattered gemstones that will restore the sword's power and take Acklor down. This story doesn't win points for originality, but it does take a couple of interesting turns, though some of those turns are kind of negated by later story beats. At one point you lose a very important item, but then get it back 10 minutes later, rather than have the story and campaign progress in a different direction. You start out with the Ice Gemstone, which allows you to freeze enemies, as well as slide them around once they're in ice blocks, which can be used to solve puzzles. In fact, every elemental gemstone has multiple utilities like that. The Light Gem, for example, not only widens your field of vision in dark spaces, but also leeches health from enemies, and can be used to power certain mirror reflection puzzles. Sorry to people who don't like mirror reflection puzzles, but they're in here, usually at least one in each dungeon. It's not crosscode level of puzzles or anything, so I'm sure you'll live. By the way, I really love crosscode, so those people can suck it anyway. I should remark on the weakest element of the game, which is the combat. Probably a bad thing to be bad in an action RPG, but it is what it is. I don't mind Zelda combat in most instances, but the knockback and mid-tempo sword swing are a rough combination. You have to keep chasing enemies as you fight them, and they have a few too many hit points for my liking. Now, enemies have elemental weaknesses, but you don't actually have that many mana points to work with, just 3 at the game's start. In order to increase it, you'll have to collect yellow and red essences and then brew permanent stat buff potions with the help of this kooky old lady. You can increase your max HP and MP with the right resources and some money, as well as one-time potions for healing and buffs, so long as you have empty potion bottles. There are chests with essences in the world, but you'll usually get them from bosses. These bosses range from interesting to, well, getting them in a corner and juggling them. I don't mind them, they're just about average for this genre. There's a nice-sized world to explore here with optional puzzles and backtracking to get additional essences. The tile placement's pretty good, adding depth to each screen with strong placement of terrain and vegetation. It's one of those subtle aspects of art direction, but it's something a lot of amateur RPGs fail at. While the world is just an island the size of, Rhode Island, there's a decent number of dungeons and towns packed into it. The towns don't have a Trails level of NPC dialogue, but the dialogue does update on occasion throughout the story, and by that I mean, I guess, at least once. And there's finally a reason to read every bookshelf besides getting info dumps on the world's history, because some bookshelves hide recipes for new potion types to brew. Each town also has a golden save point, which you can use to fast travel around the world. Silver save points don't have this ability, but they're littered about pretty liberally, so you at least don't have to worry too much about lost progress. Though, being honest, as I near the end game, I've yet to record a single death. Part of this is because the game has a second protagonist that you can switch between. If either one of them goes down, you can sit next to them and revive them after a cooldown for half their hit points. This includes boss battles as well, so as long as a boss isn't peppering you with high-tempo attacks, it's not too difficult to keep reviving one character or the other. Now, the reason for the second character is that you can play Shrine's Legacy with a friend in co-op, but that's not really my speed, and my friends are more the life sim and narrative game kind of player, so I just went solo on this. The inactive character is generally kinda dumb in their coding, usually tanking damage and only getting occasional hits in, so don't expect to rely on them in the clutch. But at least if you go down, you don't have to rely on them to revive you, it just transfers your control to that character. I mentioned dungeons, which eschew the temple formula of Zelda games and can be both destinations and liminal spaces. Defeating certain enemies will free up certain paths for you to progress further in the same vein as Soul Blazer, but there is also a dungeon map to find that'll show you all the rooms and floors of the dungeon you're in. I've got a mini-map in the corner because of a special type of accessory called a jewel. It's kind of like Hollow Knight's badge system, where you equip them to a number of slots at save spots. Some of them are buffs, but there are also a couple of optional UI badges to show enemy health bars and dungeon minimaps. Personally, I'd like to have a minimap of the regular world as well, but I'm not sure such a jewel exists in this world. Anyway, the dungeons are solid, multi-floored, with puzzles and key doors and various gimmicks. One's got sand conveyor belts and sarlacc pits, while another gives you a cat helper that can reach places that you can't. Throughout the game, you'll be leveling up, though you have no choice over how the characters grow. The bonuses are predetermined. In some sense, this means you'll always be where the developer wants you to be at any point in the game, but as I said before, enemies have too many hit points, so I would have preferred to put my stat points into strength, magic, and defense myself. Enemies respawn every 2 rooms traveled, so if you want to grind out some extra experience points you can, at least you have that option available. There's also a blacksmith that makes new armor for you, but it only happens a couple of times in the game at specific story points. If Path of Exile is on one extreme end of the ARPG scale, then this is on the other. It's very simple and streamlined. So do I recommend Shrine's Legacy? I do think it's a labor of love from someone who has a lot of passion for the 16-bit era of ARPGs, and that includes not just mechanical tributes, but a solidly executed combination of art direction and sound design that tap directly into those classic color palettes, tiles, and audio chips. The storytelling is conventional but earnest, and the world is dense with dungeons, towns, and bosses. On the flip side, the combat is too simple to remain engaging, there's not a huge variety of rewards for exploration, and there's no real character flexibility. In that respect, it does feel like it could have time traveled to us right from the year 1994, but if you prefer the innovations and design and technology that the 30 years since have brought us, you might want to stick to Nintendo's own franchise. Thanks for watching, folks. That big announcement video I've hinted at is still coming, but I needed to get this review out first. If you like indie game recommendations and want to learn about hidden gems and obscurities, definitely like and subscribe to this channel, because that's pretty much what I'm all about. I also stream on Twitch. I've been playing Blueprints, but I'll soon be switching over to the Seance of Blake Manor. A special thanks to my Patreon indie darlings, Tyler McBride, Game Trekker, Rob Scott, Thumpus, and Tony Domenico. And my lone but certainly not lonely channel member, Glornch. Until next time, you'll find me in another castle.